Hello, I'm Bo.
And I'm Blake, and welcome to the What the Friday podcast.
In this episode, Warren has been speaking to Danny from Invictus Wellbeing about depression, differentiating it from general sadness and explaining it as a clinical mental health condition, affecting how you function on a day-to-day basis.
Let's hear how they've got on. Hi, I'm Warren. Today we're talking about depression, and here to join me is Danny from Invictus.
Yeah, nice to be here, Warren. Thank you.
So, could you please tell us what actually is depression, and how is it different from just feeling sad?
Yeah, absolutely. So we all go through stages in life where we're not feeling 100% or we're not feeling great or feeling a bit down, and even we can go through stages where that's quite prolonged, and especially if we've had a significant life event like we've lost a pet or a loved one or what have you, we can feel down for quite a bit of time. So depression itself we call it clinical depression. So I think the word depression can be about I'm feeling a bit depressed, I'm feeling a bit down and what have you, but clinical depression is something that you'd be diagnosed with, just like you'd be diagnosed with a flu or something, and it's a mental health condition, not just a passion emotion, and it's really defined by affecting your everyday cognitive functioning. That's kind of how it's defined. So depression really affects how you think, feel and behave. It affects how you are every day. You can feel completely lethargic, unable to get out of bed, unable to eat normally. Going to school and work might not feel well, and your hormones and stuff is just all out of check as well. So yeah, it is a clinical disorder, and it's typically treated in adults with medication.
So are there different types of depression? If so, what are they?
Absolutely. There are several types of depression, and they can all look quite different. I'm not going to list off absolutely every single one, but I think some you might have heard of are major depressive disorder, which is like intense sadness or loss of interest for more than 2 weeks. A lot of people have heard of bipolar, and a lot of people can have different perceptions of that than what it actually is, but it's alternating periods of depression and extreme highs as well. The seasonal affective disorder, which can tie into how the weather is or how grey it might be outside, and people can feel more depressed when it's colder, wetter and a bit more gloomy. And for young people, depression might show up as irritability, anger or trouble concentrating, and not just sadness, and it can be really hard to diagnose in children and young people, but we do have to remember that most mental health issues arise and start, I think it's about 75% by the age of 14, so those who go on to suffer with depression usually start seeing the signs between 14 and 25.
Yeah. So what should someone do if people tell them to just cheer up or get over it?
I think that can be really invalidating and hurtful. It shows that people might not understand what depression really is, and I think young people these days are becoming much more emotionally intelligent about mental health concerns and issues and that kind of thing. And I think that's why I kind of said at the start, we need to be really careful how we use the word depressed and depression.
Yeah.
You know, feeling a bit sad one day doesn't mean you're depressed necessarily. Depression is a clinical disorder which is affecting everyday cognitive functioning. So you wouldn't tell someone with a broken leg just to walk it off. And if you have got a medical condition, it's really important to be compassionate and caring for that friend. So I think that's the thing to remember. It by doing that, you can stigmatise it more, and you can actually put people off from speaking about it further. So I would relay that and say that to say something like that is really hurtful, and just try to walk away from it essentially.
So when some people have depression, they can feel like everyone else has a perfect life and they're just struggling. Why is this?
Yeah, I think it's a really common thought. I think young people particularly, they've got social media in their life 24/7, and you're kind of getting all these pictures from friends and celebrities which are very Instagrammable and things, and that can really make you feel like you want more and compare yourself to others. I think humans have got an innate ability to compare yourself to others and always kind of want more and think the grass is greener. But as I kind of said, Instagram, it's not reality. I think having a bit of a break from screen time, everyone does go through a few struggles, and it's not a weakness to show those struggles and ask for help if you do need it. It can make your brain focus more on negative thoughts, and it can be a bit of a negative cycle. So you're definitely not the only one that's struggling. Reach out, get the support you need, and try not to compare yourself to others would be my advice.
Yeah. What are some signs that someone might be dealing with depression? So if someone's seeing the friend and they're acting, a bit different, how can they maybe tell if it is a sign of depression?
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to support everyone to be able to see common signs and try to help friends and family if we do start to get worried about them. So you might see someone after a recent event feeling really down, numb or hopeless, losing interest in things that they used to enjoy. So if they used to go to football or something and then they stopped doing that, or whatever it might be. Changes in the things you have to do every day, like eating and sleeping. So frequently sleeping too much or not enough, and same with food, eating way too much or not enough. And we've joined things that are really important to them. So friends and family really struggling with relationships and friendships, and feeling like a burden, talking about potentially death or suicide. And you know, anybody that's feeling hopeless, that's a real concern for me. So I think if you notice them in yourself or a friend, make sure you reach out and get some professional help. It's definitely something that you don't want to ignore.
So if someone does think their friend is depressed, what should they do?
Yeah, I think just as if you're a good friend with anything, any kind of struggles, check in with them, maybe say something like, hey, I've noticed you've been a bit quiet lately, is everything okay? Ask them open-ended questions and give them the opportunity to speak to you. There was a really good campaign from Calm a couple of years ago where it's ask, are you okay twice? The first time it's easy to say, yeah, I'm fine. But the second time they might actually come out with what they're struggling with. If they do talk a little bit about it, remember that you're not a counsellor, you're not there to fix everything, and encourage them to talk to a trusted adult or have a look online for some help if they want to do it anonymously. If they do talk about self-harm or suicide, make sure you do take it seriously and try and tell a responsible adult immediately, because you've got a duty of care there to make sure that they're safe, and you could potentially help save a life if you encourage them to speak to someone. And if they're really not happy doing that, you might need to just go and speak to a trusted adult anyway.
How can someone start getting help if they think they are depressed themselves?
So the first step always with any mental health issues or challenges is just start talking to someone you trust. That could be a parent, a teacher, a school counsellor, or a GP, or even someone online. As I say, there's loads of great resources to go and get help online. You could also potentially go to your doctor directly. These guys are trained now to help. And you might be referred to somewhere like CAMS or a therapist or a counsellor. And as I said as well, there's loads of stuff online. There's Shout, Childline, Papyrus, where you can get that support and advice as well, anonymously. So the most important thing is just taking that first step out of a really difficult step, don't get me wrong, but out of your comfort zone to try and get help. And just remember that first step is the hardest, and it'll get easier from there.
Yeah. So what type of treatments or support are available for depression in young people?
So with young people, as I say, it's really difficult to get a diagnosis immediately, but some treatment options might be therapists. So charities like ours, Invictus, we offer talking therapies like CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy, to really try and challenge and break the cycle of negative thoughts, feelings and emotions. You might be prescribed some medication, or typically that's more for adults, so you can get antidepressants which affect your serotonin and other hormone levels in your body, especially if your symptoms are really severe. And then also there's the holistic stuff, so lifestyle changes, regular exercise, your sleep, healthy food, reducing your screen time, all those things can make a big difference. And actually just speaking to someone as well, so maybe finding stuff online, speaking to a trusted adult, or even just speaking to a friend can really help you just vocalise and feel validated about how you're feeling. So one thing doesn't fix all. Depression's a grey area, but the biggest thing is taking that step and getting some professional help.
Yeah.
So that's what I'd advise to do, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Speaking about depression and how to help it go away, is it always something that needs professional help, or can it just go away on its own?
Yeah, good question. I think depression got a clinical diagnosis when it's affecting your everyday functioning in the long term. So absolutely that could improve with the holistic stuff like lifestyle changes, support from friends and family. And I think that's an important thing to remember. Depression can come from significant life events like, losing a close member of your family or something like that. You can get depressed from that. That's absolutely a thing. But just remember, we're not expecting you to be an expert in depression. That's why you go and get that professional help and seek someone. So whilst you might think you can tackle it alone, and I respect that, I would always advise just going and speaking to someone, because they're not going to judge you. They want to keep you safe, they want to keep you well, and getting help early usually leads to faster and better recovery.
So last thing, what message would you give to a young person who feel like they're never going to feel better ever again?
Depression can really cloud your mind and make you feel like it's never going to get better. You're always going to feel this way, and that potentially some people feel that life will be better without them in it. That is a permanent fix to a temporary problem, and I'd always just encourage you to reach out. Know that there's something you can do, there's someone you can speak to, and there's places you can be where you're going to feel validated, you're going to feel safe, you're going to feel listened to. You're not broken, you're not alone. Things do get better, and I promise you how you're feeling right now isn't how you're going to feel for the rest of your life. So just reach out, take that first step, which is 100% the hardest step, and there's always a path to feeling better eventually.
Thank you, Danny, for coming on and speaking about this. I'm sure this will help some young people with whatever they might be going through.
Yeah, no, thanks for the conversation, Warren. Really enjoyed it. And, it's quite heavy subject matter, but really important conversation. And thanks for giving me the platform to have it.
Thank you so much, Warren and Danny, and for Ella for producing. We hope you found that as interesting as we did.
Not only did they host the episode, but they also undertook all the research too.
You can find lots of interesting podcasts on a variety of subjects by exploring the useful podcast section on the Destination web app. Search destination.org.uk.
You can also find them on Apple, Spotify or YouTube.
If you would like to know more information about the subjects discussed, please check the podcast description.
We'd like to thank Invictus and the National Lottery for their support, Jimmy for editing and Youth Social for producing.